Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. My Game of Thrones Season 4 countdown continues. I think we've done 3 or 4 videos by now. During the breakdown of that last trailer, I asked you to submit all of your questions, so I picked 10 of them to answer in this video with one bonus question. Most everybody wants to talk about the Titan here. If you're finding me for the first time, I'm just doing a special Game of Thrones countdown series to the Season 4 premiere. I've got a whole bunch of cool stuff planned. Be sure to subscribe to get everything. I'm even doing a special giveaway whenever the season starts. Now it's time to talk about some Bravos. Careful for spoilers if you're not caught up on the show yet, but here we go. Question number 1 comes from Neto de Toro. Do you think we'll see Cat of the Canal's House of Black and White this season based on the Titan being in the trailer? Based on the Titan, yes, I think we will see Bravos, but not in the way you think. There's a lot of different stories tied up in that location during various parts of the story, but the one I think we'll see is Sir Davos at the Iron Bank. Remember, Mark Gatiss is playing Tycho Nestor's, someone who works at the Iron Bank. Stannis had no money during Season 2 whenever he borrowed all those ships from Salladhor Saan. The funny thing about that scene was that all that Saan seemed to want was to have sex with Cersei whenever they took King's Landing. But since that very expensive fleet was torched with wildfire, Stannis has no more ships and no money. So Davos is getting sent to borrow more. Enter Mark Gatiss. Question number 2. Fenrir Norgensen asks, when the show catches up with the books, will they do a prequel series like for Dunk and Egg or Robert's Rebellion? Yes, there will be a prequel TV series at some point, but it'll take place way back in the past. So that means no Dunk and Egg and no Robert's Rebellion. George R.R. Martin was signed to an HBO development deal of his own around season 1 or 2. I personally want to see the series set in Old Valyria before the Doom. I think that'd be really cool. It's the same situation with Robert Kirkman at AMC though. They also signed him to a development deal for a Walking Dead spin-off show. It's just because those worlds are so popular and HBO and AMC want to keep that type of content going for as long as possible. No announcements have been made about the Game of Thrones prequel series, but it took David Benioff and D.B. Weiss 3 years to make the first pilot for the current Game of Thrones show. Plus, Martin still has to finish Winds of Winter, then he has to write Dream of Spring, so he is a busy man. Question number 3. Taylor Simpson asks, will they add scenes for characters that aren't in Feast for Crows or Dance with Dragons? So you're talking about the same thing they did with Theon last season, where they included him even though he wasn't in the books corresponding to what they were doing. They're going to rearrange things so that they happen chronologically. It just makes it easier to follow a story when you don't jump back and forth in time too much. J.R.R. Tolkien had the same problem with his books, so Peter Jackson had to rearrange the chapters for the movies, just so that events unfolded one right after the other. As far as extra things, they're really just blending Feast for Crows and Dance with Dragons. They won't cover all of those books, but most of the characters that aren't in Feast are in Dance, so logically it just makes sense to do events from the beginning of both books. A lot of the chapters from the second halves of those books though will spill over into Season 5 probably. Question number 4. Firmagab Boom asks, is anyone going to go to Bravos since we saw the Titan? So yes, Davos, like I mentioned, I think he's actually going to go there this season, but I do think that we're going to get teasers for some of the other characters that'll eventually end up there. Really, there are like 2 to 4 characters that eventually end up there, depending on how you look at it. Question number 5. Sergio Valdecera asks, do you think Ned Stark will come back, and what do you think the cliffhanger will be this season? So the only way Ned Stark would come back would be as a white, a reanimated corpse. Even then, since he's lost his head, I don't think that the White Walkers would be able to reanimate him. The only way to kill them is to burn their bodies, so I guess they could reanimate his head so that he's just a biter, like the ones in the Governor's fish tank on Walking Dead. As far as cliffhangers, there are several events in the middle of books 4 and 5 that would be good. All of the characters really have multiple oh shit moments, so no matter where they choose to end it, it'll be awesome. Question number 6. Stephen Yu asks, will we finally get to see Barristan and Selmy fight this season? I hope so. The show stays really close to the major plot points, but it does take a few small liberties with the characters every once in a while. As we've seen in the trailers, Daenerys still has a major battle ahead of her, and while Selmy's scenes make him seem like more of a talker and less of a stabber, I think we will see him get tough with some people. Dario is really the stabby one in her camp, the one who gets sent out to quote-unquote take care of things. Selmy is really more of a counselor like Sir Friendzone, with way less creepiness. Question number 7. Connor Peckham asks, I kind of want to start with the books, but I want to start reading where the show is right now. Which book should I start with? So honestly, if you wanted to start wherever we are right now in the story, you'd have to start reading about halfway through Storm of Swords. If you really want to be quick about it though, you can just read spoilers for that stuff and start reading Feast for Crows. Season 4 is going to be kind of weird in that it combines chapters from the first halves of books 4 and 5, so you will miss out on some stuff no matter what. But I think that if you're going to read the books, you should read them in the order they were published, not in the order that the show is doing them. Whenever the season does start, I'll actually try and reference chapters in the books whenever the events happen on the show, just so people can compare if they want to. Question number 8. Lisa Cunningham asks, how far into Cersei's storyline do you think they'll get this season? So I think they're only going to get about halfway through her character's arc. So there's going to be a lot of big stuff spilling over into season 5. With all the mega stuff going on in King's Landing already, including everything from her chapters, seems like it would be way too much for the story to handle. The problem with adapting everything in a single book for a single season of the show is just that it would get way too disorganized. I mean, they're huge books. And remember, Cersei is not going to be in every single episode. Question number 9, Brayuga0 asks, who do you think is the most important character or will become the most important character? So this is actually a huge debate, but George R.R. Martin has said in the past that he most identifies with Tyrion. I always felt that a lot of fantasy authors make some of the narrative autobiographical, in the sense that the character that they identify with the most becomes the most important character. That's not always the case, but there's something really logical about the way David Benioff and D.B. Weiss went about casting Peter Dinklage. He's the highest paid actor on the show, but if you're wondering, they are staying true to his character's arc as George R.R. Martin has kind of plotted it out. The other clear choice is Daenerys. She's been the face of the show on the posters and the marketing, everything, for the last couple of seasons now. I think the really awesome thing about Game of Thrones is that, unlike, say, The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, there is no single main character. But if I really did have to pick, it would be a tie between Tyrion and Daenerys. Question number 10, Henry Martin Fiat asks, how do you think that the first episode will start? So typically, the first episode of each new season of Game of Thrones starts right after the events of the previous season's finale. So if you rewatch the last episode of season 3, we'll basically just start season 4 a few days after that. So Jon Snow just came back to the Night's Watch, Daenerys just freed all those slaves, Jaime and Brienne just came back to King's Landing. You know, all those places will be where we'll start in episode 1. And one last bonus question. Ayan Tandon asks, how many seasons will there be? So the showrunners actually just did a really cool interview in Vanity Fair where they talked about how George R.R. Martin basically told them how the show's going to end. They said they went to George R.R. Martin's house in New Mexico to learn how the rest of the story ends for each character, just because by the time they get through season 5, they'll have passed where he is in the books. They didn't reveal any spoilers, of course, but they did say they have enough content for 7 solid seasons, maybe an 8th, depending on whether or not HBO would pay for it. Believe me, they will definitely pay for it. So for now, we can say a confirmed 7, but in reality, I think it'll be 8. So thank you so much for submitting your questions. This was a lot of fun, as always. Right now, I'm actually working on getting live streaming running on my channel, so I might do live Q&As in the future. I'm also working on doing live after shows, after TV shows are done, at least the big ones, like Talking Dead works right after Walking Dead. There are a lot of bugs I have to work out, but it should be pretty cool once it works. Hopefully all that'll be ready to go by the time Game of Thrones gets started, the episodes get started, so be sure to subscribe to get everything, and all the rest of my countdown videos. It's going to be a lot of fun. The next Game of Thrones video that I'm going to be doing tonight is actually going to be the History of Dragons video. Remember, because they started in Valyria, then they came to Westeros, etc., etc. That'll probably post really, really late tonight, but in the meantime, you can click here to watch all my breakdown videos for Season 4, and you can click here to watch my Walking Dead predictions video that I just posted. There's only 3 more episodes to go in the season. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys tonight. High fives.